Hi, I'm Emma, and this is my handmade home in Philadelphia. This house is such an extension of my personality. I think of life as this incredible opportunity to delight in the sensory perception of what the world gives us. My artistic design style is colorful, saturated, playful, and pulls on the nostalgia of growing up in the 90s. Color, to me, expands a space, and it gives an opportunity for the people who are entering that space to have an emotional reaction to it. I found this house in October of 2021, so still during COVID. The buyer's market was incredibly competitive. We had just recently moved to Philadelphia. I was coming here for grad school. My wife is from the Philadelphia area, so it was an exciting moment for us to come home. We were looking at many different neighborhoods throughout the city, and then we arrived at Manayunk, which is this little kind of northwest corner of Philadelphia, which gives small town energy while still being in a big city. And we found this beautiful corner row home with incredible detail, a 120-year-old stone home. It had been covered with stucco, but it is made of solid rock. Got beautiful light. It had a very quirky style from the previous owners, and it was something that I loved about it, that the house held personal expression so well, and so I was ready to really put my personal expression onto it. I knew when moving in that I did not want to kind of paint each room a different color. I wanted something that felt more like an immersive art experience. And so I just went for it. I'd never painted before. I wanted to do something that made me happy, that felt really playful, and that also I could paint over it if I hated it. Welcome to my home. When you enter, you will find yourself immediately in the living room. And it's really hard not to notice the main focal point of this room, which is the rainbow road that wraps around the living room. It was the first mural that I did, and the lines were so straight and the curve was so good. And I just stood there in awe and was like, oh my God, I can do this. Because before then it was a gamble. I'd never painted before. I didn't know if I was gonna be able to do it, but seeing it come to fruition, it reprogrammed that place in my brain that was the inner saboteur of, no, you can't. You've never done this before. What are you talking about? You think you can paint a whole house? And seeing it come to life, I was like, oh my God, I can paint a whole damn house. Opposite the rainbow road, wanted to frame this beautiful mantle. And so I created this almost wavy arch to frame it and to draw attention to this side of the room. Let's head on into our dining room, which may be my favorite room in the house. There are so many special pieces in this room. This cabinet in particular, we thought we were going to use it as a little TV cabinet. It ended up not really working, but we didn't want to get rid of it. So instead I decided to paint it, give it a new life of its own. And now it's one of my favorite pieces. The mushroom mirror is a similar type of thing in the dining room where my sister gifted me a little mushroom mirror, put it on the wall, and I was like, you need something. I'm just gonna paint another bigger mushroom around you. Love it. I wanted a big, funky mirror with color and shape. I went to Lowe's, got a huge mirror for really cheap, and then used the cardboard box actually to create a frame around it. Kind of paper mache and plastered over the top, painted it, and now I have a completely customized mirror. This striped wall was born about a day before Thanksgiving. I had my family, my wife's family coming into town and staying with us, and my wife looked at me and said, you know, that wall is looking pretty blank. And that absolutely set me off, where I knew I had to do something. So I thought, okay, I'm going to paint the style of wallpaper that I would like to see in this room. Arriving at that moment of completion of, oh my God, I just did this. I love it and really becoming addicted to it. This is my most recent mural, a very simple shape, but that adds some dynamic color to the wall and kind of helps to move the energy around the dining room table. And it leads us right into this heat map thermostat. I love this mural. I think it's so silly and cheeky. I had the idea when I was actually looking at an Excel spreadsheet, and there was a data heat map on the Excel spreadsheet. And I thought, oh my God, this is a thermostat. It generates heat. I'm gonna do a little data heat map around it. And so those like silly little inside jokes with myself make me just absolutely delighted. When we first moved in, the kitchen was only built out on this side, but we knew that we needed more counter space. I love to cook, so we did quite a bit of work in here. When I first moved in, there were so many kitschy, creative touches that were already in place that I really wanted to preserve. For example, there's this incredible tile in the kitchen, and it was something that absolutely delighted me. While I kept the tile, I painted the cabinets green, and I put so many plants in the kitchen. And to improve the storage in this kitchen, instead of doing a kitchen table on this side, we put in this butcher block, this floating countertop, and then we created these beautiful shelves. I wanted it to feel a little bit more French countryside, a little bit more rustic, and so we went with these iron brackets. Let's head on upstairs. I wanted to create some interest and some fun while people were walking up the stairs. They look up and they have that aha, like, oh, that's beautiful. What is that doing up there? And so I wanted to do something warm to make it feel like it belonged to the living room, which it is kind of coming up out of. And when people see it, they often tell me it reminds them of bacon, which I think is really funny. And I love that people have different interpretations or reactions to it, dependent on who's looking at it. Welcome to our closet slash office. A little quirk about our very old house is that there are pretty much no closets. I wanted to create something that felt almost European, a little bit sultry, that felt a little bit moody for an office. I also wanted to create an interest nook. And so a lot of abstraction here, a lot of organic movement. Let's head down the hall and check out our bedroom. I wanted this room to feel incredibly restful, to be somewhere where, you know, we could go to sleep and feel kind of tucked in. But we did have this nook that the bed had to sit in. And so I wanted a deep blue, a very calming blue for that nook. And then I decided to bring it up onto the ceiling and create that diagonal moment. It creates this movement towards kind of diving into bed. It also feels almost like a fort, and it's been so calming and relaxing. I also love the rainbow ribbon mural that I painted throughout the second and the third floor. I thought it would be incredibly playful to have people, as they walked up the stairs into the hallway, have something that almost led them through the hallway into the guest bedroom, or even up to the third floor as the rainbow ribbon continues. I was incredibly inspired by an artist, a mural artist named Rachel Jackson, who does mural work very similar, but I wanted to use colors and paint for my ribbon mural that I'd already used in my house, so that it felt like this like playful, silly, almost like anthropomorphized ribbon that was saying hello. All of the colors dancing throughout the second and third floor, inviting people in. We are on the third floor of my house. There are 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom up here, and I'm gonna take you into the first bedroom that I ever designed. I became incredibly inspired by 90s cartoons, postmodern, wacky nostalgia. And so the first thing that I painted was this shelf. I used this electric slime green. I also knew that because the ceilings were really low, I wanted to bring something up onto the ceilings. And that's where this squiggle pencil came to life. When I first started out, I didn't know it was gonna be a pencil. I was just painting black squiggle lines on the ceiling. As I was going, I thought it would be really cool for it to begin in a pencil shape and for it to end with an eraser with primary colors. I did these ravioli windows in this bright yellow, which just created some dimension to these, again, lower set windows. Because everything's a little bit lower in here, I found myself being drawn to kind of create some height. And then in the corners, I was super excited to do some shape illusion. So that to me was so 90s, Nickelodeon nostalgia. But if you get the angle right, it does look like it's actually popping out of the wall. And I did something very similar to that with this pyramid. And then of course I had to give kind of a nod to Rugrats, which is one of my favorite cartoons growing up, with Chucky's hair. And I really couldn't paint a 90s room without doing the iconic jazz cup mural. I actually painted another door based on one of my absolute favorite childhood movies, Monsters, Inc. So this bathroom door is modeled off of Boo's door, and because there are such pink tones to it, this really helped to serve as inspiration for the design for the rest of the bathroom. So come on in. We ripped up the old linoleum floors. We put down parquet plank flooring with this marble style to give a look of tile without the expense of tile. That's been a fun part of the home owning and design process, is that learning new skills is almost built into the experience. So I did this half wall in this pink and then painted a cream color on top, but I knew I wanted to add more interest to the half wall, and so I actually spray painted on these red shapes. And at first they were really saturated, a little too bright for what I wanted, and so I mixed up some of this pink with some water and then did almost a wash over the shapes. So it creates a certain aged look to it. The shapes now actually feel like they're way more integrated, and I really do like it. It reminds me of a strawberry cow, which feels really fun. So now this bedroom I created after I did the 90s room, and I wanted something completely different. So here, instead of doing individual murals, I wanted the whole room to be covered in color. I wanted it to feel like somebody who was sleeping here was just dropped into a cotton candy cloud. Or when we bought the house, the porch was beautiful, but it was also crumbling. The banisters and the balusters were in disrepair. It was really important to the both of us to restore the original kind of Victorian glory. This home doesn't just belong to us, it does belong to this neighborhood. It's been here a lot longer than us. It'll be here for a lot longer than us. And so wanting to do right by the house and also by the neighborhood that it belongs to. So this banister size is not available in a Lowe's or a Home Depot. We did have to find somebody in Jersey who had long enough banisters. And so we painted everything. We put it all together. We had a dear, dear friend build us this beautiful custom bench. Sitting out here in the summer evenings in Philadelphia is just perfection. The current version of the house compared to the vision that I had in the beginning is so much better because it is infused with my process, and that makes it so much more special. So I feel my style evolving. I feel myself editing, and that's also really exciting to me. It does not register as something to be ashamed of or frustrated with. It registers as something that feels exciting, a new opportunity for creativity. Thanks so much for touring my place. See you soon. Like this video and subscribe to HGTV Handmade for more home tour videos like this.
You did great.
Cool, super fun.